2.6 is in session.
All right, let's go back on the record in BF 1668018, People versus Sabrina Limon. Record reflects she's president and corporate jury attorney, and the people are represented. You have Detective Meyer on the stand, still under oath, subject to cross by Mr. Terry. And all 12 plus 4 in the box. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nice to see you all back. Mr. Terry, whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Detective Meyer.
Good morning, sir.
Yesterday, I was going to go on to the second part of the interview that was conducted of Ms. Limon that was played yesterday. That was an interview that was conducted by yourself, Detective Kevin Brewer, and then ultimately Detective Trevino was involved at the end?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And at one point, Detective Brewer asked Sabrina about the gun that was used. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
And he said that the gun was missing that Jonathan owned. Was there a missing gun?
I believe at the time when Brewer said that in the interview, he believed the gun hadn't been located, but the other investigators that were serving the search warrant had located the firearm. But I think Brewer just didn't know at the time.
The gun that Jonathan, or when Jonathan was arrested, was he wearing a sidearm?
He wasn't actually wearing the sidearm. I believe it was placed in his vehicle.
And they have located, was it the Glock that they located in his vehicle, if you recall?
Yes, I believe it was the Glock that was located in the vehicle.
Now, during the questioning of Ms. Limon, there was also a reference to the fact that she had told people about the affair with Jonathan. Is that right? Do you remember that?
That is what Detective Brewer had said at the time.
Were you aware of anyone that Ms. Limon had told about her affair with Jonathan Hearn?
I wasn't aware that she had told anybody about the affair. As far as her, I knew that Rob was aware of the affair at some point in time.
So it wasn't Sabrina who had mentioned anything about it. It was only Rob Limon, right? That you're aware of.
That what I was aware of, yes.
During the course of the interrogation by Detective Brewer, he also was telling Sabrina that she knew that Jonathan had killed her husband. Did he not?
I believe he did say that, yes.
In fact, he said multiple times. Is that right?
That is correct.
And she always denied that she knew that it was Jonathan, right?
Yes, sir, she did.
Now, when he was showing her pictures of the motorcycle, he said the pictures were taken about 300 feet from where Robert was killed. Is that right?
I don't remember the exact verbiage he used at that point in time.
Directing your attention to page 18, lines 9 through 11 of the second portion of that interview from the 18th.
Yes, he stated it was about 300 feet from where her husband was killed.
Now, the photo that he was showing her was the one from the surveillance camera capture at Patco. Is that right?
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. And that's not 300 feet from where her husband was killed, right?
Not exactly 300 feet.
In fact, it's closer to about a half mile away.
Maybe at least a quarter of a mile.
Now, Detective Brewer also said that they'd shown that photograph to a number of people, and all of them identified it as being Jonathan. Is that right?
Yes, sir, he did say that.
That wasn't true either, right?
As far as them directly identifying Jonathan, we did show the photo to some of the people who had met Jonathan before, and they said it looked like him as far as the stature, but they weren't positive if it was him or not.
So, again, that was a fabrication by Detective Brewer to try to get Ms. Limon to break. Would that be accurate?
To get her to be truthful, sir?
Well, you're assuming she wasn't being truthful, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But at that time, you don't know whether or not she wasn't being truthful, right?
I had learned through the investigation of some stuff and that she could have been truthful about, and she decided to continue to lie to me. At that point in time, I felt she was not being truthful with that interview.
She told you about the affair, which was the thing that she'd hidden from you initially. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And she didn't tell you about her and Rob's lifestyle. Would that be accurate? Even though you suspected it.
She did not.
She didn't tell you about Jonathan and that he may own a motorcycle. Is that right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Sure. She didn't tell you when you told her you were looking for somebody named John who knew Rob and rode a motorcycle. She didn't tell you that, yes, I know somebody by that name who rides a motorcycle. Is that right?
She gave me a few other names of John that possibly owned motorcycles.
And she gave you as good a description of them as she could, and none of those descriptions matched the suspect that you had seen on the motorcycle, either at the Patco video or at the Pilot gas station, right?
Objection, speculation.
Well, you looked at the Pilot video, right?
Yes, I did.
By the time you told her about this John and the motorcycle, right?
Correct.
And the descriptions that she gave you of the persons that she knew of as having the name John, that knew Rob, and rode a motorcycle or owned a motorcycle, didn't match the description or the body type of the person in either the Patco video or the Pilot Station video, right?
I'm a little confused about the question, sir.
Sure. Did the description she gave you of, was the first John she mentioned John Justice as being the John that knew Rob that owned a motorcycle?
That was one of them she mentioned, yes.
Okay. And she said, when she told you that, she said that she knew John Justice owned dirt bikes, right?
Correct.
Okay. When she talked about John Simeon, she described him, right?
Yes.
And she said he was approximately 50-some years old and a certain height and that he was heavier set, right?
Correct.
And that she knew, he knew Rob, right?
Correct.
And that he may own a motorcycle, right?
That's correct.
But the description she gave and the age didn't match what you observed in the video, right?
That's correct.
Okay. But when you spoke to her and on the 18th, she told you, she apologized for not telling you about Jonathan Hearn, right?
Yes, she did.
She apologized to you for not telling you about the affair, right?
She did.
And she apologized to you for not telling you the truth about her and Rob's lifestyle, right?
Yes.
Because she said to you that she didn't believe that this had anything to do with their personal life, right?
That's what she said, yes, sir.
And throughout the interview, both the one in Boron that we listened to earlier and this 4 hours and 40 minutes that you conducted the interview of Sabrina, she never wavered once with regards to whether or not she knew Jonathan Hearn had killed her husband, right?
Objection. Speculation also calls for a conclusion.
Speculation what?
And calls for a conclusion.
You can rephrase.
Sure. Did Sabrina ever say during the course of that interrogation that she knew that Jonathan Hearn had killed her husband, Robert?
Not at that interview, no. She didn't directly say that.
And it was Detective Brewer who said you knew, right? You knew he did it, right?
He did say that, yes.
And he went after her rather aggressively during the course of his interrogation. Would you not agree?
More aggressively than I did. Not as aggressive as I've seen from some interviews.
Okay. Sort of the good cop, bad cop routine that we've seen sometimes where people try to portray.
That's
A little bit.
That's really not what we were trying to portray, but he did go after her a little more aggressively, yes.
And she still maintains she did not know that Jonathan Hearn had killed her husband, right?
That's correct, sir.
And she said that he never told her that he killed her husband, right?
That's correct.
And at the end of the interview, I don't know if it's Detective Brewer or Trevino, basically says that you haven't told me anything in 4 hours at all, right?
Yeah, I don't recall if it was Detective Brewer or Trevino. Something of that sort was said, yes.
Okay. During the break in the interview, when she was taken out of the room, there were videotaping going on. How long was she out of that room before she was brought back?
I don't recall the exact time, how long it was. I would be guessing if I gave you a number.
There's no time stamp as to when an interview begins or ends, as far as the actual time?
There should be a timestamp on the video itself when it was initiated, but I don't know how long she was removed from that interview room into the soft room.
Okay. And when she was put into what you call the soft room, she was put in there by herself, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Was she handcuffed?
No, sir.
Was the room, the lights turned off inside the room so it was pitch black?
No, sir.
And when you gave her, you talked about at the end of the first interview how you were hungry, starving, and she had to be too. Did you give her M&Ms to eat?
I believe I gave her something. I don't recall exactly what it was. Maybe a candy bar or something like that and some water.
And that was after almost 3 hours of the interrogation time, is that right?
It was somewhere around 3 hours, maybe.
And that was after she'd been arrested in Hellendale at her children's school and then transported to Boron. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Where she was interviewed for about an hour by Detective Trevino and Rutledge.
I don't recall how long their interview went.
And then it's about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive from Boron to Bakersfield, right?
Roughly, yes.
And then she was first taken down to the central receiving facility right here, right? Next to this building, right?
Yeah, just in the basement here.
Yeah. And then transported out to Norris Road for you to interview. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, during the course of the interrogation, you talked about the fact that Sabrina never went to Tehachapi the night of the murder. Is that right?
That is correct, sir.
You talked about how no matter what you would have gone to the scene, no matter what the police said, right?
If my spouse was murdered, I would have gone to the scene regardless of what was said. Yes.
Okay. But, again, you're not a woman who's just lost her husband with 2 small children, right?
That's correct. I'm not a female with 2 small children.
And would you agree that, you've been a police officer for a number of years, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you would agree that you're a little bit more, how would I put it, used to these types of scenes and dealing with this type of incident than, say, a woman who's had no experience in that area. Would you not agree?
I've seen a few, yes, sir.
Okay. And you don't know what she was actually told by the railroad personnel who came out to tell her that something had happened to Rob, right?
At that point in time, I didn't know what she was told by the railroad company, no.
Do you know if she was even told that Robert was dead?
At that point in time, I don't recall.
And you don't know what they told her, whether or not she should even go out there, or if she was even in an emotional state to go out there. You don't know that, right?
I don't know what her state of mind was, and don't know what she was told. I wasn't there.
I don't have any further questions at this time, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Detective Meyer.
Thank you.
Detective Meyer, you were asked questions about ruses that you used with Ms. Limon. I wanted to ask you about one specifically, one that you brought up about a struggle possibly occurring at the shop. Where did you get that? I guess you labeled it as a ruse. Where did you get that information from?
The information from the scene, whenever I initially took the walkthrough, I noticed that the refrigerator door was open. There was water bottles and I believe Gatorade bottles strewn about the building itself, glass on the ground. So it appeared at that point in time that there was a struggle inside the shop, or right there by where Robert's located at.
Okay. So you took a logical inference from the evidence as you saw it at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about blood on the clothing? Where did you get that from?
The blood on the clothing was a ruse. However, typically when there's some sort of struggle over, if it was even over a firearm or whatever the struggle was over, and if there was a shooting and there was close proximity, there possibly would be blood splatter onto the clothing of the subject or suspect.
So again, it's a logical inference that you took from the evidence as you saw it in an ongoing investigation.
Yes, sir.
You made some phone calls to Ms. Limon during your investigation, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you call the number 760-241-8060?
I did, sir.
What phone or whose phone is that?
That was Sabrina's home telephone number.
Did you also make calls to a 760-475-7844?
Yes, sir.
Whose phone is that?
That was Sabrina's personal cellular telephone.
Yesterday also moved into evidence was a cell records for 760-475-7845. Whose phone is that?
That was the personal cell phone for Robert Limon.
There were some other records previously moved in, a 760-987-3569. Whose phone is that?
That was the cell phone for Sabrina, which we call the burner phone.
That's all I have at this point, Your Honor.
Jerry, based on those questions, anything further?
Just some follow-up.
Sure.
To double check, the last number you were at, cell phone, or phone number you were asked about, that was the 3569 number, is that right?
The 998 number?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, 3569. Is that Sabrina's?
No. It was
Burner
the
phone?
998-7958, I believe, which was the burner phone.
Okay. So when you just testified that was Sabrina's phone, that was not Sabrina's phone, is that right?
The 7958 number was the phone that was considered her burner phone.
Okay. Okay. This one I want to be clear on. Now, you talked about, based on what you observed at the scene, there was a Gatorade bottle and a water bottle on the floor at the scene. Is that right?
There was refreshment bottles on the ground, yes.
Okay. And you also mentioned there was broken glass on the floor of the shop. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was from the overhead light, right?
Correct.
The fluorescent bulb up above that had been broken?
That's what it appeared, yes, sir.
Okay. They weren't struggling up there, right?
I wouldn't imagine it was pretty tall.
Because it's about 15 to 18 feet in the air, right?
Somewhere around there, yes, sir.
So when you say there was evidence of a struggle, there really wasn't evidence of any type of struggle that you observed, other than there were a couple of bottles on the floor and there was a overhead light that had been broken. Is that right?
That and the refrigerator door was open.
Okay. Which could mean Robert had just gotten things out of the fridge, and that's when the attacker showed up and shot him, right?
Correct.
Okay. Which wouldn't be signs of a struggle, right?
It depends on how you look at it, I guess.
Okay. Now, with regards to, I asked you earlier, and you talked about the scene and the broken light, the glass. The only location that you observed a bullet strike in that building, there was no evidence of any type of ricochet off of a wall behind Robert, or any other ricochet that put the bullet up in the glass. Is that right?
When we looked at the scene, the only really what I would call a bullet strike or a ricochet was in the light fixture itself. We did check the wall behind him immediately where the sink was at for the kitchenette, and then also the wall on the would be the east wall of the shop. Also checked that because we did see a couple little tears in the insulation. So we checked those too, got a ladder, checked those, and didn't find any signs of a bullet strike there, just in the light fixture.
And that's the part to where there was no photographs actually taken up close of that light. Is that correct?
There was, I believe there was a photograph taken of the light. I don't know how up close the photo was.
Now, as the lead detective on this case, you're familiar with and have reviewed the autopsy report. Is that right?
I actually scanned the report, never read it in detail, but I did have a copy of the report and looked at it, yes. Show you page 3 of 7 of the Dr. Whitmore's autopsy report. Direct your attention to the first paragraph with regard to gunshot wound number 1. Okay.
Now, based upon the testimony you heard from Dr. Whitmore and his report, you indicated that the entrance to, on that first, what he called gunshot number 1, which entered the chin, that is, the entrance wound is 8 1/4 inches below the top of the head. Is that right?
Correct.
And it indicated that the exit wound from the back of the neck was 10 inches from the top of the head. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that would indicate a downward angle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's the gunshot that purportedly broke a light bulb in the ceiling. Is that right?
That is correct.
course, Your Honor.
You was in uniform.
Your Honor, Detective Meyer, I'm going to show you a portion of Defense Exhibit U. You recognize those records?
Yes.
Are those records for Jonathan Hearn's phone?
Yes.
Is that as a result of records that you had obtained from the phone company, or were those records that were as a result of what's known as a cell write download?
I don't know exactly how where these records came from, but they do appear to be from a download. The cell phone records typically from the phone company look a little bit different, but
In other words, usually what you get is kind of an Excel spreadsheet with call detail records, I believe they're called. Is that right?
from the phone company, yes.
Yeah. But those appear to be records for Jonathan Hearn, is that right?
Yes.
Showing you what I just showed to you on my computer. Are those the same records that what I just showed you identified as being from Jonathan Hearn? If you can see them.
Yeah, it's hard to see, but
If you'd like to come get closer, make sure
Sure.
I want to make sure we're accurate.
yes.
Okay. So those would be some of Jonathan Hearn's cell phone records. Is that right?
Yes.
And it appears from this particular document as page 6 of 7. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. This time I'd ask to move defense exhibit U into evidence room.
You just,
None, Your Honor.
to be admitted.
Thank you. Now, you talked about evidence of struggle. You talked about blood spatter. Generally, blood spatter is as a result of a gunshot or some type of object striking the human body, and then the blood coming out of it as a result of the impact. Would that be accurate?
That'd be accurate, yes.
Okay. And if somebody's up close when they are firing a weapon, then the spatter sometimes goes on to the person who fired the shot.
Yes, it could.
Okay. And oftentimes it's projected actually past the person sometimes who fired the shot. Would that be accurate?
I think it just depends on the scenario, sir.
Depends on every scenario, right? Every case is different.
That's correct.
Okay. And oftentimes you get more blood spatter from the exit wound than you will from the entrance, right? Generally speaking.
It just depends on the scenario, sir.
In this case, was there any evidence of any footprints or any evidence of a struggle as a result of your examination of the scene and the blood spatter?
I don't recall seeing any disturbance in the blood that was on the ground.
Was there any type of footprints or any type of evidence on around Rob Limon's body with regards to evidence of a struggle?
I don't recall seeing any footprints directly near the body.
Was there any indication of any type of defensive wounds by Rob Limon that you observed when you examined the body at the scene?
No, there wasn't. I didn't get real close to the body or examine the body directly, so I did not. I would not know that.
Certainly those would have been indications such as abrasions on the knuckles or injuries to the hands. Those are indications of potential defensive wounds. Is that right?
Potentially, yes.
And you don't recall seeing any of that?
Nothing at the scene. I didn't, like I said, I didn't inspect the body at the scene. Some of that stuff may have been documented if there were any defensive wounds in the autopsy later.
And Dr. Whitmore never testified as to any evidence of any real defensive wounds, right?
I don't recall that in his testimony.
I have no further questions at this time. Thank you, Detective Meyer.
Smith?
Detective Meyer, it looks like I got two phone numbers backwards. Let's start with 760-998-7958. Whose phone is that?
That would be the burner phone.
That was seized from whom?
Sabrina Limon.
Now for 760-987-3569, what you just testified to in Defense Exhibit U, I believe. Whose phone did that belong to?
Jonathan Hearn.
Jonathan. Okay. Nothing further on.
I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
You step down for now. Eric Smith is next.
People call John Seaman.
How's my jury doing? Here we go. See a thumbs up. Okay. Sir, could you raise your right hand and be sworn?
You do solemnly state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Come on up, have a seat, please, sir. Good morning, sir. Can you tell us your name and spell your last name for the record?
John Seaman, S-I-E-M-O-N.
Thank you. Your order, counsel.
Thank you. Are you currently employed?
No, I'm retired.
Okay. What business did you retire from?
BNSF Railroad.
How long did you work for BNSF Railroad?
About 32 years.
When did you retire?
July 2013.
When you were working for BNSF, did you meet a Robert Limon?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you know about what time frame you met him?
I think he came up to Tehachapi late 2007, 2008, somewhere in there.
How long, 2007, had you been working in Tehachapi?
I started up there in 2005, so I'd been there for 2 years.
Okay. And what were your primary duties up in Tehachapi, working for BNSF?
Responder.
How well did you get to know Robert Limon?
I got to know him pretty well.
When you would see him, was it in shift change, or would you spend time outside of work together?
We, shift change, couple hour talks between shifts. He probably at my house at least 50 times. Always there for Thanksgiving and stuff.
Did you ever meet his wife, Sabrina Limon?
Yes, I did.
Did you meet her prior to the passing of Robert Limon, August 17th of 2014?
Yes.
How did you have occasion to meet Sabrina Limon prior to Robert's death?
Well, I'd say she probably came to the shop 3 or 4 times, and my primary physician's in Victorville, so I ran into them at Walmart twice down there in Victorville.
Now, during the course of the time that you knew Robert Limon, did you have any issues with him, any beefs at all?
Nah.
Did you get along with him well?
Oh, yeah, greatest guy in the world.
Have you ever owned any motorcycles?
Of course.
Okay. When is the last time you owned a motorcycle?
Well, I own a couple dirt bikes now, but my last Harley Davidson I sold in 2000.
When did you purchase the dirt bikes?
I don't know, 2005, 2006. They were only like Honda 50s,
Okay.
2 we got.
So you did not own any chopper-style motorcycles since the year 2000?
No, sir.
I apologize for some of these questions. How old are you?
68,
How tall are you?
6'1",
Really apologize for this one. How much do you weigh?
228.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Terry?
Good morning, Mr. Seaman.
Morning.
You said that Sabrina come up to the shop, I think you said 3 times or so when Rob was working up there with you. Is that right? Prior to 2013, when you retired, when was the last time you'd seen Sabrina up at the shop?
I don't know, probably around 2011. She had relatives up there, so she'd come up every so often.
She bring the kid?
Yes.
And I saw from the photographs there was a barbecue at the shop. You guys every now and again do some barbecuing at the shop?
Yes.
Okay. And Rob knew that you previously owned your Harleys. Is that right?
No, I don't think so.
Hold on. Objection is overruled, but
Let me rephrase.
that would be great.
Did you talk to Rob about owning your Harley?
No,
Never once?
not that I recall.
Just, we've kind of talked about this, and I kind of understand it. You worked at BNSF as a responder, is that right?
Yes,
Okay, when you were working at Tehachapi.
right.
Okay. And when trains would break down or have some mechanical difficulties, then you'd respond to do the repairs, is that right?
Right.
Okay. And I imagine there were issues going through the Tehachapi loop quite a bit with trains?
Not as much as you would think, no.
Well, when you were responding to breakdowns, when you were working at Tehachapi, what was the area that you would you'd respond to? How wide an area did you actually respond to and do repairs?
From right outside the yard here in Bakersfield to the other side of Mojave.
So all the way from Bakersfield all the way out to Mojave was kind of the territory where you guys would be called in to respond to do repairs.
Right.
And say you got a call out to do repairs on a train here in Bakersfield, and it was, coming up time for shift change. Would you continue working on the train until you had the repairs done, or would your replacement come in and finish up what you started?
Well, it'd be depending on how serious it was. If it was something that was going to be hours, then the relief would come down and relieve you.
Okay. So when I said it, you guys were doing 12-hour shifts. Sometimes it was a little flexible, right?
Well, I've had many 16-hour shifts.
Been there, done that. I understand. Thank you, sir. And you said that you socialized with Rob, and he came over to your house for Thanksgiving. Is that right?
He was over there quite a bit.
Okay. And was that when he was working up in Tehachapi?
Right.
Okay. And you were living up there in Tehachapi, is that right?
Right.
Okay, so he'd come over, even if he was working and on shift, he could as long as he's within radio call or phone call, he can still respond, but he doesn't have to be actually in the shop the whole time, right?
Well, you'd have the pack set.
So he would come over and spend time with you while he was working in Tehachapi on occasion?
Right.
Okay. And on the holidays, when he was working for somebody who was taking the holiday off, and he was working their shift for him, he'd come over for Thanksgiving to your house. Is that
Well,
right?
a couple of us always took Thanksgiving week off, so I'd always invite him over.
When he was working the shift for somebody else?
Well, either for me or whoever.
Okay.
He was always, I'll bring the pies.
And the times that you saw Sabrina and Rob together, did there appear to be any issues that you saw that would indicate to you that they weren't happy together?
No.
And that was both when she came up to Tehachapi and when you ran into him at Walmart in Victorville, right?
Right.
Did Rob ever express to you any unhappiness in his home life that you were aware of?
No.
Interesting.
When you talk about the Honda 50s that you own, or are we talking about the little mini bike
Yeah.
type of thing?
Yeah, dirt bikes.
Oh, God. I haven't seen those in years. Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, you can step down, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Smith.
People recall Victor Garcia. Your Honor, if I could step out and see if another witness has.
Of course. You want me to hold on before we get Garcia back up? Okay, you got it. Sir, could you come forward, please? Come on back up to the stand. Let me remind you, you're still under oath. doing this, Counselor.
Detective Garcia, when you previously testified, you spoke about how you received Mr. Hearn's cellular phone and took it to be downloaded.
Correct.
Did you also have occasion post-download to review some of the records contained within Mr. Hearn's cell phone?
I did.
Were you able to review whether or not there was any text messages from a number 9987958?
Yes.
When did those text messages begin in reference to that Cellbrite download?
I believe they were in September of 14.
Did you also review for the number 4757844, the same query to see when the text messaging began?
Yes.
What was the time frame?
I don't recall the exact date on that one.
Okay. Was it after the death of Robert Limon?
I believe it was shortly after.
Did you also review the text messaging for content as well to see if other unlabeled text messages appeared to come from Jonathan and Sabrina?
Yes.
Okay. What did you look for in your review?
Looking for in the content of the messages, who they were from, if there was any names being written out or mentioned in the content of the message.
And as to your content review, what is the time frame of what you were able to discern was between Jonathan and Sabrina within that Cellbrite?
There were several messages. I don't recall the exact time frame between them.
Okay. Was it after the death of Robert?
Yes.
Did you also review whether or not that Cellbrite download had any emails between Jonathan Hearn and what would appear to be Sabrina Limon's email?
There was emails from Sabrina Limon's email.
Did you review for a Sabrina Limon 20 gmail.com account?
I believe it was either 20 or 26.
Now, did you see any presence of listing from emails from Jonathan Hearn's phone to those email accounts?
I don't recall.
Were you able to see any email content contained within referencing to Sabrina Limon's Gmail?
There was no content or body in the emails.
So as it relates to the emails, there was listing for Sabrina Limon's account, but no content.
Correct.
Do you know the time frame of those emails that you observed in Jonathan Hearn's, or listed in Jonathan Hearn's phone?
Not the exact date, no.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Chair?
I apologize, I just have really one quick question. I missed, there was a reference to a phone number ending 7958, and that was one where you could Cellbrite download on it, is that right?
It's a number that popped up in the Cellbrite download.
Okay. And there was a second number you were asked about, and I'm sorry, Councilman, a little quick for me, I missed what the number was.
475-7844.
Okay, thank you. I apologize, I thought that's what it was. Now, with regards to the Gmail account, you said there was no content on the phone, is that right?
Nothing that I could read.
Nothing further.
That's all I have.
All right, so that's what thank you. Smith?
A brief sidebar?
Sidebar, yes.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I did have the opportunity to speak to counsel. We're getting to a part of the trial where Mr. Smith's case is coming to a close, and we're trying to get witnesses staggered into the right position to get them in here. Okay. So I'm gonna change things up on you just a tad. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and take the morning recess now. When you come back, we're just gonna run straight through to noon. Okay. So let's take. I'll tell you what. I'll have you back at 10:30. All right. Well, then we'll run back to noon. Remember not to form or express any
call Jeff Roten.
Sir, could you come on up, step up to the podium, raise your right hand and be sworn, please. Don't walk past the podium, step up to it.
This one.
Yes, sir. That's all right. There you go, raise your right hand, we'll swear you.
You do solemnly state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Come on up, have a seat, please. Good morning. Can you tell us your name and spell your last name for the record?
Name is Jeffrey Roten, R-H-O-T-O-N.
Thank you. Your witness, counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Roten, how are you currently employed?
I'm a semi-retired businessman, but I also run a company called Advanced Cell Tracking Systems, and I'm a reserve deputy for Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office.
Well, what type of work do you do with advanced cell tracking systems?
We provide a platform for mapping and analyzing cell phone activity through call detail records provided by service providers.
Just to start with the basics, what are call detail records?
Call detail records are activity on a cell phone, incoming and outgoing, where we map the tower and sector associated with each call.
Now, when you say tower, what do you mean?
Cell phone antenna, which could oftentimes is associated with a tower. It's identified as a tower, but it could be any cell phone antenna on the side of a building, a water tank, or a bridge, a tower, those kinds.
And when you say sector, what do you mean?
A sector is a portion or the antenna direction that is orientated in a particular way off of that tower.
Now, you said that you work or you own this advanced cell tracking systems. What kind of training did you have to go to or as you were starting this business?
I've been trained through several law enforcement training events. I am also a trainer for detectives in analyzing and mapping that data.
Now, when you get these call detail records, there's tower information, there's sector information. What do you do with the information?
We provide it in a readable document. Typically, it's in a Google Earth overlay, so you can clearly see locations when particular towers and sectors were activated.
What information within the cell phone records do you use to put that on the Google overlay?
This is tower information provided by each service provider. Each service provider presents their data in different methods and in different ways. But basically what we do is we take a look at the call detail records. It'll identify a tower and sector, and then we do a lookup of where that tower and sector is not only located, but how it's orientated off that tower.
Now, do the cellular phone companies all use the same towers?
No.
Do they all use different towers?
They all use different towers, but they can be some on a large tower. You could have several carriers on the same tower, but typically they're in separate locations. Each network has its own tower database.
So when you're providing this overlay on a Google map, what are you showing? Just a large circle where that tower would have coverage?
It depends on the data that's provided. In some cases, it can be a circle surrounding a particular tower that it would be known as an omnidirectional tower. In most cases, it's sectorized, and it'll be a 120-degree sector projecting out from that antenna.
How do you know how far that antenna is projecting out, or how far the phone could be away from the tower?
It varies from location to location. Where you have a highly dense population and a lot of towers, we typically map 3 to 5 miles. When you get out into areas where you either have towers are located on high structures or mountainous terrain, or vice versa, you have a cell phone that's in the mountainous terrain, it can travel much further than that.
As to the present case, did you review Verizon cell phone records relating to the cellular phone 760-998-7958?
Yes,
Okay. Now, when you're reviewing the records, you're just reviewing them as a subject phone. You don't have any other information other than that, correct?
that is correct. Oftentimes I'll be given an address associated with an event, but I won't necessarily have any information as to what happened during that time.
Okay. Did you also review Verizon cellular phone records for 760-475-7845?
Correct.
And then last, did you review cellular phone records, including CDRs, for a 760-987-3569 under T-Mobile phone records?
I did.
Now, as to all three of those numbers, did you then do what you said, the Google Map overlay for particular times for those cellular phones?
Correct.
Your Honor, if I may approach.
Please.
Tables 85 through 92, mark next in order.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as people's 85 through 92. If you can just briefly go through those, verify they are on the slides that you created for this case.
on number 92, the cover date is showing 8/30/14, and the date of the sector hit is showing 8/17.
Please.
Mr. Roden, People's 85 through 91. Did you author those slides?
I did.
Your Honor, would request they be moved into evidence at this time as it relates to People's 85 through 91.
The objection to 85 through 91, Mr. Terry.
Submitted.
There'll be no counsel.
But also request the public.
Please.
Mr. Roden, starting with People's 85, labeled as page 1. Just the header says target number 760-987-3569 for a date range of 4/24.
Correct.
Is this a summary of what's contained within the following records?
It is.
Moving on to page 2. If you could describe the slide, please.
The describe depicts what is known as an omnidirectional tower database, where we have a latitude and longitude. So that line coming from the circular drawing there to the center is where the tower is located. Target number 760. I'm sorry, I'm going to just use the last 4 if that's okay. 3569 is in the Hesperia area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
And there's some addresses there in green, 15173 Lime Street, Hesperia. Is that an address that was provided to you?
It is.
Moving on to page 3 of People's 85.
That shows on 4/24/14 at approximately 11:32 a.m. Target number ending in 3569 is in the Victorville area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Page 4.
Okay, between 4/24/14 at approximately 11:46 a.m. and 4/24/14 at approximately 3:31 p.m. Target number ending in 3569 is in the Hellendale area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Again, the address above in the upper sector shows 27250 Strawberry Lane, Hellendale. That was an address provided to you.
That is correct. Can we speak to that slide there?
Yes.
The towers, that is a sector, 120-degree sector coming off of a tower. Those orientation angles is the center of the section and the direction of which the signal projects from those particular towers. The one in the southern portion of the slide is very high on a hill in comparison to the actual area that the other tower is located in. That projection, that distance is about 9 miles. And that's not uncommon to see in areas such as this.
Slide 5 of People's 85.
Between 4/24/14 at approximately 4:12 p.m. and 4:24 14 at approximately 10:14 p.m. Target number ending in 3569 is in the Hesperia area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Moving on to People's 86, slide 1. Is this in relation to the phone number 3569 for May 16, 2014 through May 23, 2014?
It is.
Starting with slide 2.
Between 5:16:14 at approximately 10:20 p.m. and 5:23:14 at approximately 8:23 a.m. Target number ending in 3569 was in the Monterey Salinas area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Slide 3.
Between 5:23:14 at approximately 1:56 p.m. and 5:23:14 at approximately 5:07 p.m. Target number ending in 3569 traveled southbound from the Monterey area, arriving in the Mettler area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Slide number 4.
Between 5:23:14 at approximately 5 p.m. and 5:23:14 at approximately 5:22 p.m. Target number 3 ending in 3569 traveled southbound from the Mettler area, arriving in the Grapevine area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Slide number 5, People's 86.
Between 5:23:14 at approximately 5:22 p.m. and 5:23:14 at approximately 5:52 p.m. Target number ending in 3569 reversed direction and traveled from the Grapevine area in a northeastern direction to the east of Edison area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Slide number 6.
On 5:23:14 at approximately 2:35, is that a 7?
Yes.
7:35 p.m. Target number ending in 3569 had an incoming call from phone number ending in 7958. The call lasted approximately 1,876 seconds. During this call, the target cell phone traveled from the Edison area to the Tehachapi area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Slide number 7.
On 5:23:14 at approximately 7:35 p.m., target number ending in 3569 had an incoming call from phone number ending in 7958. The call lasted approximately 1,428 seconds. During this call, the target's cell phone traveled from the Tehachapi area to the Rosamond area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Okay, just for clarification, the prior slide said something about traveling from the Edison area, a call at 7:35. The next slide, slide 7, states the call was from the Tehachapi area to the Rosamond area. Is slide 6 in error as to where the travel was from?
Can I bring that up so I can take a look?
Yeah.
Yeah, travel from the Edison area. Okay, let me reread slide number 6. On 5:23:14 at approximately 7:35 p.m., target number ending in 3569 had an incoming call from 7958. The call lasted approximately 1,876 seconds. During this call, the target cell phone traveled from the Edison area, ending in the Tehachapi area, connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Moving on to the next slide.
Okay, the next slide 7, on 5/23/14 at approximately 7:35. Target number ending in 3569 had an incoming call from phone ending in 7958. The call lasted approximately 1,428 seconds. During this call, the target cell phone traveled from the Tehachapi area to the Rosamond area, connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Moving on to slide 8. If you could describe this slide, please.
On 5/23/14, target number ending in 3569 had traveled from the Monterey area to the Rosamond Mojave area. During this movement, the target number changed directions in the Mettler Grapevine area. This is the most likely path shown in white.
Okay. So as it relates to this phone, at some point it was traveled from Monterey down towards the Grapevine.
Correct.
At some point, it ended up back in the Edison area on Highway 58.
Correct.
At some point that evening, a call is received in Tehachapi at 7:35 p.m.
Correct.
And then subsequently, the travel of that phone is from the Tehachapi area to Rosamond area.
That is correct.
So that cellular phone, 3569, was in Tehachapi at 7:35 p.m.
Correct.
Now, when you're doing cell phone analysis, are you able to track exactly where that phone goes when it's not in use, when it's not having a call received?
It depends on the actual phone type. In this particular case, in the case of that T-Mobile phone, we're only able to map incoming and outgoing voice calls. If there's a text message made with the T-Mobile network, we don't get mappable data from that service provider.
Okay. So as it relates to what we've just seen, that is purely when calls are made to that phone, you're able to map where that phone, the call, where it begins, where that phone is at, and where that phone is at when the call is ended.
Correct. For T-Mobile, it'll start the originating tower and sector and the terminating tower and sector.
Moving on to People's 87, starting with slide 1. This is a map, Google Maps overlay for the phone 3569, August 1st, August 2nd, 2014.
Correct.
You could just explain slide 2, please.
Between 8/1/14 at approximately 9:52 p.m. and 8/2/14 at approximately 6:44. Number ending in 3569 is in the Hellendale area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Moving on to People's 88. Again, this is for the phone number 3569, this time for the date of August 17, 2014.
Correct.
Starting with slide 1, or I apologize, slide 2.
On 8/17/14, between approximately 6:37 a.m. and 8:10 a.m., target number ending in 3569 had 3 outgoing calls to phone number ending in 7958. The calls lasted approximately 29 seconds, 2,095 seconds, and 51 seconds, respectively. The target number 3569 was in the Redlands area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Moving on to slide 3.
On 8/17/14, between approximately 8:11 a.m. and 8:44 a.m., target number ending in 3569 had an outgoing call to phone number ending in 7958. The call lasted approximately, I can't read that.
1,983.
1,983 seconds. During this call, target number ending in 3569 traveled from the Redlands area to the Cajon Junction area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Slide 4.
On 8/17/14, between approximately 8:47 a.m. and 9:33 a.m., target number ending in 3569 had an outgoing call to phone number ending in 7958. The call lasted approximately 2,700
Yes.
seconds. During this call, target number ending in 3569 traveled from southwest Hesperia area to west of the Hesperia area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Since there is a lot of writing, let me bring it to you.
Thank you. On 8/17/14, between approximately 9:51 a.m. and 8:37 p.m., target number ending in 3569 had incoming and outgoing calls to the phone number ending in 7958. Calls were initiated at 7:51 a.m. for 1 second, 10:07 a.m. for 1 second, 12:05 p.m. for 1,172 seconds, and 7:50 p.m. for 4,805 seconds, and 8:37 p.m. for 622 seconds. During these calls, target number 3 ending in 3569 was in the Hesperia area connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Moving on to People's 89. This is in relation again to 3569 for August 27, 2014, August 28, 2014.
Yes.
It's just one slide.
On 8/27/14 at approximately 10:44 p.m., target number ending in 3569 travels from the Victorville area, arriving in the Hellendale area at approximately 11:02 p.m., connecting to the T-Mobile network.
Okay. Drawing your attention to People's 90, again, as it relates to 3569 for August 31st of 2014. If you could describe what is labeled as slide 2.
On August 31st, 14 at approximately 12:11 a.m. Target number ending in 3569 is in the Hellendale area connecting to the T-Mobile network. The target number traveled from the Hesperia area to the Hellendale area sometime between 10:51 a.m. on 8/30/14 and 12:11 a.m. on 8/31/14. The target number is back in the Hesperia area at 6:36 a.m. on 8/31/14.
I'm going to show you now what's been marked as People's 91. But you also map phone location for the phone 7845 on May 23rd, 2014.
I did.
Showing you what has been marked as slide 2.
On 5/23/14, between approximately 7:21 a.m. and 5:55 p.m., victim target number ending in 7845 was in the Tehachapi area connecting to the Verizon network.
Okay. Slide 3.
On 5/23/14, between approximately 7:13 p.m. and 7:27 p.m., victim target number ending in 7845 was in the North Edwards area connecting to the Verizon network.
Okay. Now, did you also perform an analysis for that same phone, 7845, as it relates to April 25th of 2014?
I did.
Okay. Did you verify whether or not that phone was in the Tehachapi area on that date?
It was in the Tehachapi area.
Nothing further.
Security, any cross?
Yes, just a moment, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Good morning, Mr. Rotan.
Good morning.
Now, when we're talking about cellular coverage and even sectors within a cellular tower, we're usually talking in approximately, well, I'll put it this way, the sectors cover 360 degrees. Would that be accurate?
No.
Well, I mean, all the sectors on a particular tower will cover 360 degrees with overlaps on each cell, right, or each sector.
No.
They will not?
Not necessarily.
How many sectors are there on any given tower, sir?
Oftentimes you'll see up to 9 sectors on any given tower, but they don't necessarily create a 360-degree pattern around that tower. The service provider will direct it in the area of where traffic will be associated.
Would it be safe to say that it is not, as depicted on your maps, a pie shape with regards to the coverage area for any given sector?
That may be the case. However, those are the instructions that are given to us by the service provider. They will give us a latitude, longitude, a sector azimuth, which is the direction or orientation angle based on true north, and that is how we were instructed to lay out those sectors.
And I understand that. But my point is, sir, within any given sector, it is not a pie shape. It can be more like a cloud. Would that be accurate?
I don't know what you mean by cloud, but it is more accurate to be depicted as that pie shape. For example, if we had sectors that were lit and maybe we had overlying sectors, one after another, that would define an area. For example, if we were looking for a missing person, that sector we would actually utilize that data to define our search area.
Well, there are instances, would you not agree, where a simple pie shape is not an accurate depiction of what a particular sector of a tower will cover, depending upon objects in its path? Would you agree with that?
There can be instances where that occurs.
Such as naturally occurring objects in nature that would, because we're talking radio signals, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
And naturally occurring things like mountains and those types of things can affect the shape or the coverage area of a particular tower and sector within that tower, right?
Agreed.
Okay. So what you do with your mapping is you try to give as good an idea of what particular area it could cover. Would that be accurate?
What we're doing is we're taking the data provided by the service provider. They tell us that this phone was in this sector, and that's the data that you see there.
Okay. And how much of you're given the azimuth, which shows you which direction that particular sector is directed in. Is that right?
Correct. The center of that sector, based on a true north.
Okay. And then from that, you do your mapping using your pie shape, if you will. Is that right?
Correct. The 120 degrees sector described by the service providers.
I wanted to go over a couple of your maps. Thank you.
There's also one here.
Okay, let me see if the one I need is here, and then if it's not, it must be up with you. It must be up with you. I think. No, here we go. Showing what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit. Let me make sure I get this right. 85. Sure, I get this right. I'm looking for the April 24th. This is one of them. This is one of them. Oh, okay. That's probably one of them. No, that's May 23rd. This is April 24th. I don't see what I'm looking for. Let's see. I'll find it. Thank you. Oh, there it is. All right. Going back to People's Exhibit 85. Did have it right the first time. Now your mapping indicates that on April 24th, between 11:46 a.m. and 3:31 p.m. that your target phone of with the last four numbers of 3569 is in the Hellendale area. Is that right?
That is correct.
Do you recall what number that phone was connecting with at the time when you were examining this?
I don't, but that we can certainly pull the call detail records and
Do you
determine.
have those available to you, sir?
I don't have them with me, no.
I may approach. Call detail records that you relied upon in preparing your maps?
It is. One set, yes.
Okay. With regards to that, you indicate that the beginning 11:46 p.m. until 3:31 p.m. that there were the cell phone it indicated it was bouncing off of a tower in Hellendale. Would that be an accurate description, if you will?
Yeah, let me explain what that depicts. That depicts at 11:46 on 4:24 a.m. and another call at 3:31 p.m. on 4:24 that it was connecting to the T-Mobile network. It didn't occur during that entire time. Those are two separate calls.
I understand that, but during that time frame, it's the phone is connecting to a tower in Hellendale. Is that right?
Well, yes, the one in the north area is the Hellendale area. The
Yes.
one in the back, I'm not sure what that area is, but it actually covers the Hellendale area. That's a 9-mile distance from
Okay.
where that tower is to where that location.
So what you're saying is the bottom pie chart, if you will, which is approximately 9 miles away from Hellendale, do you know whether or not that was when the original call was made?
Okay. Bear with me 1 second here.
Not a problem.
Is there a way to move this screen to
Yeah.
get to the right? So what I want to do is just
There you go.
So the 11:46 a.m. call on 4:24 is an outgoing call to a phone number ending in 8060.
Okay. And is that a cellular phone or is that a landline?
I have no idea.
Okay. Let me ask you this. That's kind of one of the questions I had with regards to this. When a cell phone is calling a landline, or basically where a cell phone is connecting to a landline, does it connect to a tower near the landline? How does that work?
Well, no, the cell phone connects to a tower. A cell phone is basically like a two-way radio, and it connects to a tower. That tower then goes down and is attached to a landline.
Okay. So the tower, if you're calling another cell phone, it's just basically bouncing the radio waves, right?
Right, back
From
and
one
forth
phone
from
to the other.
Well, no. They all go to a tower. They don't go from one phone to the other on voice calls.
I understand that. It's going from tower to tower between the
Correct.
two callers.
Yeah, let me explain further. So if I was to call your cell phone from here, we would not connect person to person. My phone would go to a tower, and your phone would go to your carrier
Right.
tower to make that connection.
And I understand that.
Okay.
With regards to a landline, it goes to, does it go to the tower nearest where the landline is located, or go to the tower nearest where the caller is at?
I don't know. In this particular case, we're tracking the cell phone that's attaching to the tower. I have no idea where the landline's coming from,
Well, if it's,
or where the landline's located when the call is made. Let's
Okay.
put it that way.
all right. Now, that first call is from the cell phone to the 8060 numbers, I think you said. Is that right?
Correct.
Are there any additional calls between your 1146 call and your 331 call between those two numbers?
Yes, it looks like 329, actually 331. It's an outgoing to that call,
Okay.
to that number.
So in between your 1146 and your 331, there is no calls between those two numbers at all?
Well,
Is
I'm
that right?
showing 329 as well.
Okay, 329 as well.
And the 329, just for the record, and the 331 are the same tower and sector.
Okay. Did you do any mapping for the night of 424 for the target phone that you were utilizing, cell phone you were utilizing preparing this map?
For this target number,
Yes, sir.
we'd have to pull up that slide. I don't believe, well, that covers the up to 3:31 p.m. I think after that, if I recall correctly, I'm not sure if this will show the city on it or not. It doesn't. But I believe the phone moves back down in a southerly location from there.
Okay. So it's in the Hellendale area for a period of time, and then it's going south from Hellendale?
Correct. It moves south as I recall, but I'd have to look at the record to see it.
And were you asked to do any mapping to see whether or not there were any, whether or not the target phone here, the 3569 number, was ever in that location in the evening of April 24th, late at night?
Well, I'm sure I looked at that. If it was there, I would have shown it on the
Okay.
slide.
With regards to April 25th, did you do any mapping with regards to that target phone 3569 on April 25th at night?
No, I don't recall that.
On April 23rd, did you do any mapping of that target phone 3569 on the evening of April 23rd?
If it was not in one of those slides, no, I don't believe so.
Mr. Roden, with regards to the May 23rd mapping, you indicated you did mapping that started in the Monterey, Salinas area, and then it headed in a southern direction on that date. Is that right?
That is correct. It was there well in advance of the 23rd, but it was the 23rd that the movement started.
Okay. And I wanted to kind of go over some things with regards to the some of the calls you referenced in your mapping. There's two calls. One, I think you indicated was 1,428 seconds. Is that right?
I do recall that number.
Okay. And that's approximately 23.8 minutes. Is that right?
I'd need a calculator to do it, but it sounds close.
I did actually have to calculate how to do it.
It's divided by 60 and it'll give it to you.
Okay. And that call, if I remember correctly, first call that you talked about was the 1,876 seconds. Is that right?
It sounds right.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that was the first one I spoke to, but
Well, and that's where I got a little confused. Showing you People's Exhibit 86. This is the mapping you prepared with regards to the call that lasted 1,876 seconds, or if my math was correct and I put it in the calculator correctly, we're talking 31 minutes. Is that right?
That sounds about right.
Okay. Now that call started, or it appears to have originated in the Edison area. Is that right?
Correct?
And went from Edison into the Tehachapi area, I think you indicated. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's where it terminated there.
Okay. And that's at approximately 7:35 p.m. It began at that time?
I'd have to look at the call detail records to confirm that, but yes, I believe so.
Okay. And while you certainly
Yeah.
prepared your mapping
Based on that.
based upon that information. Is that right? All right. And then it ends, so if it started at 7:35 p.m. or thereabouts, then it ended somewhere around about 8:06 p.m. Would that be accurate?
That sounds about right. Now, if you're questioning whether I have the start time right or not, we can confirm that with the call detail records.
Call detail records you relied upon preparing this map.
Yes.
And the first call you indicated that 7:35 p.m. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. How long was that call based on the call detail records?
One 1,428 seconds.
Okay, so
That-
the
actually-
first, okay, let me see if I understand this. The first call, 7:35 p.m. is 1,428 seconds? Not the 8,000, or 1,876 seconds.
Correct. It looks like the 1,876 seconds call actually occurred at 5:22 p.m., and I think that was on the previous slide.
Well, actually, this is the 1,876 second one here.
Yeah, can you go to the previous slide?
It's actually the subsequent slide, I think, but, okay, we got this one, this slide, which also indicates at 7:35 p.m. that there was a call of 1,428 seconds.
Okay, so at 7:35 p.m., that call should have been 1,428 seconds.
Okay. So that would be the 23.8 minute call then. Would that be right?
I would need a calculator, but it sounds close.
Okay. When was the other call made that was 1,876 seconds? That's right.
That's correct. And
When was that call actually made?
that was made at 5:22.
So you got at 5:22, you've got a call that's 1,876 seconds that lasts for 30 minutes. So till approximately just short of 6 p.m. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Okay. And then you've got a second call at approximately 7:35 p.m. And that's going from Edison to Tehachapi.
The 7:35 p.m. call goes from Tehachapi down to the Rosamond area.
Okay. So the 1,876 second call, did that go from the Edison to the Tehachapi area?
Correct.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Unless someone told you where you were when you're on the phone with them, would you be able to tell by just talking to them on the phone where they are?
No.
Would you be able to,
It depends on if you had certain apps running and those kinds of things could do that. But in normal course of cell phone activity, you would not necessarily know where the person you were talking to was at the time you were talking to them.
it's like my wife has an iPhone, I don't. She's able to, because my daughter and her husband have an iPhone, she's got a mapping program where she can actually kind of track where they're at.
Correct.
But if you don't both have an iPhone, you don't have that app, you can't even do that, right?
It's not exclusive to iPhone.
I understand that, but if you don't have that app,
If you're
on
not
your
using
phone-
that app, you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell where a person was when you were talking to them, unless, of course, they told you.
Okay. I don't believe I have any further questions.
Smith, do you have any redirect?
I do. Figuring if I could approach and get an exhibit.
You can.
it says People's 86. This is slide 4, and I'll admit I'm confused by the Edison to Tehachapi call, and so I wanted to follow up on that. At 5:22, the phone is in the Grapevine area, the 3569.
Correct.
The subsequent slide from 5:22 to about 5:52, or 30 minutes, it made it to the Edison area.
Correct.
Now, in your review of the phone records that you just went through, is there a call where the towers were used on the way between the Edison area to Tehachapi? Or was
No.
Okay. So if I could show you the records, I have to use this computer, so
Yep.
if you could step off the stand.
You can step down.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as People's 19. I'm going to draw your attention to 3569, the time frame from April to June. I'm going to go forward to May 23rd. I'm going to draw your attention to the 5:22 p.m. call. Is that the call that originated at the Grapevine and ended in the Edison area? If you could review that, please.
Yes, that is the call that was 1,876 seconds.
So as it relates to the call starting in the Grapevine and ending in the Edison area, that is that call?
Correct.
Okay. Now the next call, which is labeled as 7:35 p.m., which you've testified is from Tehachapi to Rosemond, the travel of that phone. If you could review that, please.
Yes, that is a call that's 1,428 seconds long.
Okay. So just to verify, where is the information of where the phone was traveling between Edison and Tehachapi?
That information is located in these fields here. I don't know if that can be seen. It gives us a latitude and longitude of the tower. So we have a starting position, latitude and longitude in this location, and a finish latitude and longitude in this location.
Do you have a way to look that up now, or?
I don't. I mean, we can cut and paste into Google Earth, but I don't have a method of doing it.
I'm going to draw your attention to what's also been previously marked as People's 84. Just wanted to ask you some generic question about cell phone records. Now, up on the screen is some cellular phone records that have already been moved into evidence for the phone that ended in 7845. The full mobile directory number is 760-475-7845. Can you see that from where you're at?
I can.
Okay.
Slightly.
I just had questions about some of the nomenclature that's throughout. There is an F that's in the call direction. What's the significance of an F?
Typically, that's a forwarded call to voicemail.
Okay. So as to the Fs listed in call direction, they would be a cellular phone or a landline making a call to another phone, and if it goes to voicemail, it would show on the CDRs as an F.
Correct.
I wanted to ask, a lot of these calls show, I'll move to lines 437, 438. There's two lines for 1813 hours. What's the reason for two lines being at the exact same time with the exact same information? What's the significance of that? Are they separate calls or the same call with more
It
information?
is the same call. As it gets forwarded, it gets documented again.
So the subsequent lines where there's an 1814 and another 1814, that's the same call.
Correct.
1858, 1858, same call.
Correct, if it has the F associated with it.
Okay.
That particular item that you're discussing would be exclusive to the Verizon network.
Okay. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.